Hello everyone, it's Morgan, Wild West Garage. So part 4 of the Chevy square body cab repair. So in this one we're gonna start taking apart the patch panels off the truck. I'm gonna build the inner structure for the corner here, and then I'm gonna start painting the parts and get them reassembled and maybe start some welding today. Hopefully get it all done. Yeah, so this is the last part that I got to build. So this piece here is the inner structure. It comes down right to the bottom and it forms like there's a flange here for the rocker to attach to right at this point right here, and then the cab corner skin attaches along here. So it's kind of, I don't know, it's going to be kind of interesting to make this part because it's at a 45 here, but it ends up being a square corner, so I have to sort of transition that somehow into the square corner. So I probably have to make this out of two pieces. I'm not going to try and guru this thing into the shape I want by just forming the metal, because it's going to be a little bit too difficult. So anyways, I'll start with a cardboard template and see how that goes. Here I am at the dusty break, and it's the dusty break because it's in the woodworking shop, or the old woodworking shop, and I'm trying to get cleaned out. Haven't seen that corner in 40 years. So what I'm doing here is I'm only going to do 45 degrees, but if it was that's pretty easy to achieve just by eye, but I just thought I'd show this anyway. So what I'm going to do is I've got the bubble centered, so now I'm going to turn this to 45 degrees. There's a little, you can't see it, but there's a little mark on this stand here. I'll turn this to 45 degrees, and then when I lift the bending leaf up on the bender, when the bubble goes back to the middle, I'll know it's 45 degrees, and I'll probably bend it a little bit past 45 degrees so it stays, because there's always a little bit of spring back. Okay, it's all set up, so I'll just lift this up now. Oh, that ain't gonna work. Look what's happening. What a loser. Let's try this again. Watching the bubble. There it is. 45 degrees. Bump it a little bit more. I'm probably gonna have to adjust it anyways, but that's sort of probably unnecessary, but it looks like 45. Anyways, that's what I want. This is not really the way I wanted to do this, but anyways, sometimes it's just the way she goes. So I don't want to mess around with this too much. I could do this on the bead roller, but I don't think it's really necessary. This is going to be faster. I don't have to do any setup. So what I did is I just held this piece in there and I scribed the line to the edge of the rocker panel piece there where it comes up on the cab corner. I'm hoping you can see this. Sure. So anyways, I'm going to have to add a piece to this now. Oh, actually, no, I'm going too far. Only has to be about 45. So, can you see the truck? Yeah. My wife says lunch is ready. So, this is going to go here like that. This edge that I bent is going to run in underneath here. So it looks like I got to do a bit more bending on it, especially right up here in this part. Well, it has to move in a bit as well. Actually, it will move in if I just make it move in. But I want to keep this straight up and down here along the back. So I remember to watch that. It looks like I gotta notch this up a bit more so it moves up. I better go eat lunch. And my little niece is here too, so that's always fun. She's 2 years old. 2 years old is a fun age. Cut the back of this off. She's my, I guess you could say she's my niece, but I'm her great uncle. I don't know if there's such a thing as a great niece. I suppose she is a great niece. So this will have to bend out a bit. Hope you're still seeing this. So I'm going to move this bend over a little bit. So I can clean this all up with the hammer and dolly after. Get it nice and flat and straight. I may have to shrink this because it's making this bow. It's looking good. That'll work right there. And I guess just got to figure out how to make this corner down in here. That shouldn't be too hard. Lunchtime. All right, things are happening here. So I made and welded on this little skirt portion of the back of the cab. And I've got this all formed up, clamped in there, clecoed in there. So now I'm going to make a little template for this piece here. And I'm going to run it right down to here, like this edge, and then all the way back here. So that'll be one chunk. And then I'll make another piece that runs along the back and fills in this little gap here. So, anyways, enough talking. There is the finished cab corner inner structure piece. It turned out pretty nice. I ended up, I welded it on the outside, but then, well, the outside, which is really the inside of the cab. So this piece will face inside the cab, like that. So then I thought, well, I better weld the back side of it too, just so it's, because it was a little bit overlapped. You know how I'm always talking about the moisture trap. Didn't want to create one of those, so I sealed her up. So, anyways, I'll see if I can stick this in here. The shape of it changes somewhat. And I welded it. Anyways, I think it's going to work out good. There we go. That's where it's going to go. So I think I'm just going to go ahead and weld that in there now. So I just made a little modification to this. I don't know if you noticed how open that spot was there. I did want to leave it a little bit open because just as a drain, and you know, stuff's gonna fall down in here because this is inside the cab, and I don't know why, but they leave a big opening above this. So anyways, if any dirt or whatever, at least it can make its way out instead of just getting trapped in there totally. I mean, bigger stuff's gonna get trapped in there, but whatever. Moisture can work its way out, dust can get out. So I think it's best if I leave it open a little bit. All the panels now have locating screws in them. So there's one there, there's a Cleco there. This clamps is only going to really clamp in one spot. That's not going to move around. So it's 2 screws into this piece, so holding these 2 pieces together, and then you got a screw here, and then I did some screws here on the edge of this. And this screw actually went past the edge of this piece, so I just put another piece of tin underneath with a hole in it, screwed it to that to kind of pull it together. There's a couple of screws there, a couple of screws there, and then a couple of screws on the kick panel. And then I put another one down here, right there. So then I go to, and then I've got 3 more screws right there on the rocker panel. So when I go to screw or weld this thing all back together, I'll just, as I go, I'll just keep putting those screws in. So I'll start by putting this piece on, I think. Yeah, because this one goes on top of that one. So yeah, so I'll put this piece on first, then this piece, and then before I get it too locked in, I'll put this piece in there as well. And I didn't put any locating screws on this because it's not super critical. This one, it's you know, it's not going to really affect the placement of the rocker panel. So there we go. So now I'll just take it all apart, paint everything up, and then start putting it back together. So I'm going to try a little experiment here. Got these 2 chunks of just mild steel, 18 gauge, and I've sprayed the back side of them with zinc paint. And I've got the spot welder, and I don't know why I didn't use this more on the Plymouth build. There's a lot of flange welding. I could have used this thing. So I'm just wondering if this will conduct enough to actually spot through that primer. So this is first time for you and me on this. Oh. See that Cleco magnetized. Yes, it's gonna work. Oh. Got it in alignment. I can spray all the flanges with the zinc coating and spot weld right through it. That is cool. See how strong that is. It's going to be hot. put you in the dark again. That's what it looks like. Spot weld. So let's see if I can pull it apart. No, sir. It's strong. Oh, there we go. If you twist it, it'll come apart. I want to take it apart to see what it looks like. Yeah, that's pretty cool. I mean, that is very small area that doesn't have paint on it. It's better than plug welding, for sure. So I'm going to use this wherever I can on this project. See what happens when you work on stuff? It's crazy. I think I need to clean this up a little bit. Just in the process of I don't know what you're going to call this, rust, part of the rust proofing process. So I've masked off, so I've got holes drilled. I've got holes drilled in the rocker panel. So I'm going to be plug welding through those holes. And so everywhere there's a little piece of tape, that's where those holes are. So I want clean metal there so that, you know, I don't have any trouble starting the weld or getting good weld penetration. You've no doubt heard of weld through primer, but I've kind of given up on that junk. It doesn't have any binders in it. It's just kind of a powder. So when it goes on the metal, there's I guess a solvent carrier. It comes out with it to bring it out and wet it down onto your metal. But then after that carrier evaporates, you're just left with a kind of a powdery coating on the metal, and it just rubs off. This is what I'm using. This Rust-Oleum cold galvanizing compound. Seems to have a bit of a binder in it. Doesn't rub off as easy. It does rub off, but not as easy as the weld through primer. And weld through primer isn't really weld through primer. It's weld around primer. Like if you try to weld over it, it creates problems with your weld. The junk mixes in with the weld. It causes porosity, hard starts, pinholes, whatever, you know what I mean? So I like to have bare metal wherever I'm welding. So just less trouble that way. Got this all spot welded together here. So this piece overlaps about right to where those three spot welds are there. So seems to have worked really well. It's all connected together, and I've welded this piece all the way along here, on the other side. But so now I got to plug weld these, and I kind of missed with my masking tape, but it's okay. It'll be all right. It's not really touching, so I'm gonna throw a dolly on here and just go underneath and knock those up a bit so it tightens that up a bit before I weld it. I could just weld it, but it's just kind of hokey doing it that way. I want it to be touching, so that's what I'm gonna do. Those plug welds went in nice, and I just recoated that in where all the spot welds were. Another coat of the zinc paint. So now I just did some seam sealing down in there too. It's pretty ugly, but just want to keep the, this tire spray would come up there and land on that area and then wash into the inside of the cab here, so I want to prevent that. And I'm going to paint that up in there before I put the outer skin on too. So it's lunchtime. Let that seam sealer dry, and then I can put some paint on top of it, and then I can I'll be ready to put the rocker on. So all fed up, and I just put a bunch of paint on this. It's just trim clad, brushed it on, sealed it all up. And so one little modification here is I don't think I'm going to be able to spot weld these two spots here because they land on top of this where it's double here, and I don't want to take a chance and try it, so I'll just plug weld it, two plug welds there. So it's all ready to go. It's all looking good. So I'm going to screw it back on and start welding. So I got this screwed on at the front. The screws are a little loose at the moment, just because I couldn't get these ones to go in. So now they're in. So I can tighten those up again. But look at this. So this is yeah, it's not too bad. So I'm gonna have to put my come along back on here. So between there and the hinge mount, and suck that back together before I screw it on, because it's gonna need that for sure. So I can't really believe I did that. Actually, it was pretty dumb. Anyways, so there's two options to the solution. I could have drilled out my plug welds here and all these spot welds, which would have been a ton of work, or I could just do what I did. I just cut it here. I've already cranked the come along up a little bit, so now it's overlapping. And I cut along this weld seam here. So so really I'm going to have one extra weld in the whole deal. Not the end of the world. So I'll fit that rocker on there now and see how things line up. I don't think my holes along the top are going to line up so good, but that doesn't really matter too much. So I got this all pulled together. You can see that that's touching there now, and I double checked it by measuring from here right at the dome light switch straight across, and it's 35¼ inches, same as the other side. So I think I'm good. So what I'm going to do now is right here, you can see where it's overlapped a little bit, so it took up the so it's moved a total of let's see, it's moved about 1/4 inch, I guess you could say, because it took up the cut, and now it's overlapped at least a cut width. So that means that this edge here moved from here. So I guess it's only moved about 1/8 inch. But anyways, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this run the zip disc through here again, push this down into place, put a couple spots on it, and then take the rocker off, and then completely weld that out, and then I can get back on track here. So I've got this mostly welded on. You just have to spot weld the bottom. So I took the come along off and it stayed, didn't move. It moved back a tiny bit, like maybe a hair, but it's still the same dimension as the other side, so 35 1/4 ish, just a hair over, like not even a 1/16 over. So all good. So it's time to install the last piece. It's kind of interesting because this was the first thing I started out with. I was starting this job. Actually, it's not the last piece. I still got to do the, there's a body brace in underneath the floor pan there. So I got to put that in yet. But this is the last piece of the outer sheet metal, I guess you could say. So I'll put it on hyper speed and you can watch me install and weld this on. So right here, where I had that screw, I want to plug that hole, but I also want this to be welded through here. There's 3 layers there, and I want it to be welded all the way through all 3 layers. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drill this out with a step drill and clamp a piece of copper behind it and just weld right onto that copper, and that'll fuse all 3 layers together. Okay, so all the welding's done. Got it all ground down nice. See, I missed a spot there. But yeah, it's all looking good. I'm happy with it. Oh, I see I've made a couple marks here to remind me to touch up a couple of welds here. But anyways, other than that, yeah, she's done pretty much. Now I just gotta put that brace in underneath and do a little body filling here to kind of feather into that old repair there. And I'll put the door back on and bolt the fender back up, and this will be done. So stay tuned. What have we here? That's a nasty crack. There's actually a chunk missing. So now I got more work to do. Just goes on and on and on. Well, that was close. I just cut this chunk out right here. This piece right out of here where the vent goes through. So then I turned around, came over here with the piece I cut out. Do some lines on this chunk of metal. Cut it out, turned around, and there's flames coming out of the top of the dash right here. So there's a firewall pad up there. It's made out of this junk, more or less. Same stuff, and it caught on fire. I could see flames inside the dashboard. So anyways, Luckily I have my trusty water can. So I got the truck up on the hoist now because I got to go underneath it to put this. What do I do with it? Oh, it's up there. So this, I had this for, I don't know, quite a few years now. I don't know where I got them. I got a pair of them. But anyways, I guess these are made. See, it's got that kind of hook there. They're made to slip over the old mount. See, it just goes up in there pretty easy. But I don't really like it because it's for a couple of reasons. It hangs down too low here, and just not really. It's about a ½ inch longer and deeper than the other one, and it doesn't really match the curve of the floor either. And it's touching here, but it's not touching here. So I'm just gonna make one, not with this hook thing. This is all pretty solid back here, like the first part of this mount is quite solid. So I'm just gonna make my own, and I'll cut this off right about here, and I can easily weld it. So anyways, let's do it. All right, here's the cardboard template. Got all the right angles. There's a bit of a gap to the floor pan, but once I cut out the majority of the old brace, that'll move off a bit. So let's make a metal one. There it is, in place. Sticking off a bit there, but I can pull that down, bend that down after I got it welded. I can just tap that in place. Nice and flush here. Yeah, it's gonna work out nicely. So I'll mark this off here and go ahead. I'm gonna cut that probably about a ½ inch from my marks and get this thing installed. And this is only 18 gauge. I'm thinking that the original one, like this one, looks like it's at least 16 gauge, maybe 14 gauge. 14 gauge is a 1/16 of an inch, I think. Yeah, it's definitely heavier stuff, but I don't have anything heavier, and this is certainly better than nothing that was there to begin with. Well, not to begin with, but after it all rusted away. So better than a rusty one. And I was saying that this side was solid, but it's not. I poked a big hole in it. So it needs to be replaced too, but that's not going to get done anytime soon. So you can feel there's a little dimple right there, a little dimple right there, one right there, and one right there. So just go ahead and drill those out now. I've got this, I've used this before. I don't know if I showed it. It's specifically designed to drill out spot welds. I think they come in different sizes, but I've only got one size. Now once I get the spot welds broken, I just grab what's left of the thing and break it off with a pair of vice grips. I've been working on this for a while, so it's close. Got this all painted up with the zinc paint. And then also masked off and just painted. Put the zinc paint underneath where the brace is going to go. The reason I do this is because I made a mistake there. There's zinc paint on that part, but nothing else really sticks to this stuff, so you wanna have bare metal when you go to put any epoxy coatings on or whatever, or just whatever paint really. Anyways, I'm gonna weld this on and I'll show you what it looks like when it's done. There we go, it's all done. You can see where the plug welds were on the top. Put a little Makita cap on some of it. Yeah, it looks good. So, anyways, that's going to be it for now. There might be a part 4. No, this is part 4. There might be a part 5. So, I might just do a little overview of it when it's all cleaned up. I'm not going to paint it. It'll be epoxy primer, I guess. Yeah, so I'll make a little video of it all put back together, and you know that I might throw some black paint on these crusty fenders too. Anyways, thanks for watching.